Tell them that Tell Me is on.
Did somebody say tell me? Then tell me about it. Tell Me with host Carlisle Powell.
There are talk shows, and then there is Tell Me, your very credible source for information. Join us every Thursday night. You certainly won't be disappointed.
Alongside Dr. Kelvin Daly.
Panic and fear, uncertainty that is compounded by a leadership that appears unprepared, uncertain and indecisive in dealing with the coronavirus pandemic.
And Tulu Weeks.
Until God gets a hold of our Premier's life and transform him, he will go from bad to worse.
We are tired of playing politics. We need to see policies that will change the life of people, especially those of us in the diaspora.
Tell me.
Carlisle, I want all women in this rally for change.
Every Thursday at 8 p.m., you can be a part of this conversation by calling 669-7312. That's 869-669-7312. Also available on WhatsApp. For From the Diaspora, 917-460-2187.
Every Thursday night from 8 to 10 p.m. with host Carlisle Powell on 2020 Vision Radio and Facebook.
Pico, the way to go for residential, commercial, and industrial wiring, data, security, UPS, and generator installation. When you need electrical work done now, done right, done at an affordable price, contact Finney's Electrical Company. Call or WhatsApp 665-1916 or email pico_1166@yahoo.com. Pico, the way to go.
Do you know what you're drinking? If you are drinking plastic bottled water, chances are you're consuming plastic contaminants, BPA, and other hormone-disrupting chemicals you cannot see with your naked eye. Those empty plastic bottles take up to 450 years to decompose. In the meantime, plastic bottles are polluting the environment. They are dangerous to the planet and our health. The safer solution is to acquire your own Kangen alkaline water filtration system, and you'll never have to buy toxic bottled water again. Help save the planet and drink clean water for less than the price you'll pay for acid plastic bottled water over the next few years. The Kangen technology is the world's most popular, most acquired water immunizer. For more information, you can call or WhatsApp us on 917-207-1307. That's 917-207-1307. Change your water, change your life.
The views and opinions expressed on this program are strictly those of the participants and do not represent those of 2020visionradio.com or its advertisers. This 2020 Vision Radio 102.1 FM program is being simulcast weekly on the Caribbean Broadcast Network, heard on CBN Superstation 90.9 FM, Go Loud Digicel app, covering the entire U.S. and British Virgin Islands, and CBN TV on Flow Channel 101 and on CCT TV Channel 291. We do appreciate our U.S. and British Virgin Island listeners and viewers joining us for these informative and entertaining programs on 2020 Vision Radio and 102.1 FM.
News Academy is more than school. It's where future leaders are made. We learn, we lead, we live.
Good evening and welcome to another edition of Tell Me. It's Monday night from Charlestown here in Nevis. Thursday night. Why am I thinking Monday night? Dr. Daly, I tell you, today Nevis Academy had their graduation and they decided that they want to make sure that their students are featured, and so they are running some ads during Tell Me tonight. They said that they I don't know if they have a sponsor, but they're going to pay for the ads that they run tonight and Tell Me, and we are happy for that because we're always looking for more sponsors. I tell you probably what confused me. Just a couple of minutes ago, Dr. Busso, or was it Corey? I think it's Corey, put in the Nevis Academy staff chat the menu because they're gone to dinner tonight. And I told them that I had Tell Me, so I couldn't go. So I think Corey willfully posted the menu to distract me. And the menu looks good too.
He would do something like that.
She would do something like that. So, well, good night. How you doing?
I'm good, Carlisle. Let me say good evening to all those who have taken time out to be with us this evening. I know this is a very busy week. The Music Fest would have started this evening and going on until Saturday. So we expect some peeling off, but I think there are enough of us to make a show, both on Tell Me and on Target on Saturday. Let me say good evening to my family, of course, my brother Hugh down there in St. Croix, my brother Denny and his lovely wife, 12, up there in New York, my brother Carl in Atlanta, my other brother Carl in Canada, and my two sisters, Evan and Judith, up there in Connecticut, and of course my brother Reverend Othniel Daly right here on Nevis, and of course my buddies over there in St. James. You're talking about Turkey and Bose and Gary, and of course my good friend Max up there in Westbury, and all those who have taken the time out, whether you're on the FM dial, YouTube, Twitch, or on Facebook feed. But let me say welcome home to two lovely Nevisians who made the trek from America to here. I'm not certain whether I should say it, but hey, out is out. And Adele is here. Adele McClendon is landed on Nevis this evening, as well as Gigi Williams-Keith. So two stalwarts of the party are on the rock, and they're about to have a great time.
Somebody called me when I was running out of the NIPAC. I swear is one of them.
Could be one of them.
But all I had the time to do was to turn around and wave because I was running to go home to get something to eat and to change.
A lot of people came in.
Yes.
A lot of persons came in. The island is tilted to one side for the music festival. So I wish everybody to be safe and have fun. And, just have a great time. Make sure you keep in touch with your family.
Let me say good evening. I'm starting with Tulu. Normally I start with my family, but I didn't hear from Tulu. Didn't get a call to say to come for him. Tulu, I hope that you're okay. And I also haven't heard from Dr. Daniel either. But Dr. Daly and I swear Daly alone got enough chat to go for the 2 hours. And he and me together, we will do the 2 hours.
We get it done.
Good night to my big sister, Mary. And every time I say big sister, some people ask me, but isn't Glenda bigger? Mary came first. So she gets the rank and honor of big sister. So Mary and Glenda and Mervet, Maria's 3 daughters and their families, of course, saying good night to you and saying good night to my big brother Everett. No disputing that. He's the first boy. He's the big brother. And his wife, Heather, and saying good night to Trevor and his wife as well and the rest of the family. And good night to Alan Powell and Dahlia. We had a good time last week on Powell Overload. And a lot of important information came out. Let's start with the birthdays. Jamila Buddy, up there at Buddies, she's celebrating today. My neighbor Millicent and her husband John celebrating 45 years of marriage. Yep.
That's a long time.
Yep. Naomi Douglas, saying good night to you as well. Friday, the 27th, Curtis Tatix Door will be celebrating his birthday, and then heading over to St. Martin, Harlick and Lisa Doran will be celebrating an anniversary, and so we wish you well when it comes. Kim, my neighbor Kim, she will be celebrating on Saturday. Edisha Green celebrates on Saturday as well. And next week, no, don't have anything before Thursday of next week. So those are the persons that I have. And I want you to know, Dr. Daly, that last week I refused to sing.
You did?
It was me alone in the studio. I wasn't going to sing.
Oh, jeez, I forgot about that. Well,
I absolutely refused to sing.
I have 2 additions to the birthday list. My first son, my eldest son, is celebrating today, Jafar. He is in New York with his other half and his kids, and his kid and one on the way. And of course, my lovely daughter here, Carissa, she is celebrating this evening. She turns 18 today, and she is having a blast at my expense. But that is what daddies are for, cash machines. But she's a lovely girl. I'm sure she'll have a blast. And I just hope that she's safe and, you know, respectful wherever she is. So happy birthday, sweetheart. Happy birthday, my son. God bless both of you.
And while we're in greetings as well, let me say hello and good night to Agnola Martin. Hope that you're doing good. And I hope that you're on the road to recovery and that all will be well with you. And so those are what I have. Like you said, a lot of people in the place for music festival and additional people here for sports. We have an under-19 camp which is going on right now.
Mm-hmm.
And when that comes to an end, on they leave on the 30th. We have under-19 girls coming in on the same date on the 30th. And they will leave on the 5th. West Indies under-19 cricket starts on the 3rd. And we have matches in Nevis every 3 days. But before we get into all of that, let us attempt. Well, I will attempt to sing the birthday song. You're the singer. You will sing and I will attempt.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday. Happy birthday. Happy birthday to you. And as usual from us in the studio, may live to be 101 and us 101 minus a day, so we don't have to see you go. May God continue to bless you with good health, strength, and of course, wealth.
Thank you very much. We have a couple of funerals coming up next week. Patrick, his mom.
Oh, Patrick Best, yes.
Yeah, Best. His mom will be buried, I think it's Monday. Best, if it's not Monday, you have to call me and correct me. He did give me the day. My head getting kind of bad. But he did give me the day. And my classmate and villager, DJ Marshall, his uncle, will be buried in St. Kitts on Tuesday of next week, St. Peter's Anglican Church. I remember that one because I saw that one, I saw the message today. So that's his mother's brother, will be buried in St. Kitts next week, Tuesday, 2:30 in the afternoon, St. Peter's Anglican Church. Burial will be right at that very same church as well. Okay, a couple of things I want to get into tonight, Dr. Daly, and you being a man in agriculture, I figure that we might want to start that very same place. The Premier spoke on the Broiler facility at his press conference on the 24th. So before we go back to what the Premier said, I think what we should do is to go even further back. So let's go to something from 2023, then we'll give you something from 2024, and then we'll give you what he said in 2025. We're not going to play all of the clips because it's a lot of nothing. But let's go to 23 first.
Can an update be given on the Broiler facility project since the groundbreaking ceremony?
The broiler industry, I believe that the minister has been a little preoccupied with Culturama, because he's also the Minister for Culture, but he anticipates to have a follow-up town hall meeting with those interested in that sector to update them. And so we think that will happen after the Culturama festivities are over. We have, as you said, the plant equipment is here. We have already had the groundbreaking for the construction of the processing facility, and that will be next to the current abattoir facility in Prospect. And the idea, as I've said, the model is to have the various farmers produce the chickens and then take them to the processing facility. That way we can control quality and ensure that you, the consumer, get chicken that is prepared in a particular way and chicken that is the best possible quality. That is the objective. We have been collaborating with St. Kitts because over there they're also trying to develop the broiler industry. In fact, the Taiwanese government has partnered with St. Kitts, the federal government, to create a hatchery. And a hatchery, I'm told, is the official language for basically the business that where the chickens, they get the eggs and the chickens are laid, and those chickens are then hatched, and then those chickens then go to the farmers. Without the hatchery, you have no broiler industry, because clearly you have to have the birds. So the hatchery is important. We also, I'm told, have a private investor, Nevis, who wants to do a hatchery here. And so we anticipate that this will be a significant push on this going into the end of.
Dr. Daly, that's the 31st of July 2023. So you're coming up on 2 years since he made that statement. First of all, I want to put to you that Culturama, the minister was a minister, same minister responsible for Culturama. So he couldn't concentrate on the hatchery at that time because Culturama was coming up.
What do you say? I mean, these guys are being indicted by their own words and with their own words, because it's clearly, it's been outrageously long and delayed, to say the least, for something this simple that they cannot get it right or find the requisite financing or whatever it is. Because you see, the Premier speaks in broad terms about a broiler industry. A broiler industry is not a building. It's not just a processing plant. It's an entire industry, entire vertically integrated industry. Talking about the hatchery, which you mentioned. You're talking about the grow out pens. You're talking about the feed supply. You're talking about the processing. You're talking about the packaging and the distribution. So when he speaks so broadly about a broiler industry and only mention the fact that they're looking to get a processing plant, it is really, it tells me he's out of his depth with his understanding what is required. And so it is painful, because for a farmer or anybody who loves the fact that they want to get some fresh chicken year round, to hear this incessant delay, it's bordering on just pure nonsense, And I'm sure you'll hear when you play some more tapes, you'll get to more understanding what you're talking about.
And in the meantime, Synkits already distributed chicks.
Yeah,
those.
They had the first run of layers, not broilers, and they were already distributed. They're kind of on the expensive side for being a federation. I think you can even import chickens from Barbados cheaper than you can get them here in the federation.
That's not good.
I don't see the point of it. And it's very difficult for Namibian farmers to go and acquire, because you have to, number one, I don't mind making the appointment to get the birds, booking your spot. But then there are 3 different layers you have to go through. You have to book, number one. Then you have to show up at Lagrit by the department to pay. And then you have to go to over there where the hatchery is, Bayfords, I believe it is, to collect the birds, bring them over to Nevis. There needs to be a more seamless, because I can order birds cheaper from Barbados and more efficiently from Barbados than going to St. Kitts, as it is right now. We tend to make things difficult, transactionally difficult, and I don't see the need for all of that. I should be able to swipe my card, the birds, the money is deposited in the account, and the birds are shipped over to me. I shouldn't have to be catching a boat to go to St. Kitts. I don't catch a boat to go to Barbados or plane or to America. Why should I have to take a boat to St. Kitts? And we're trying to build an industry. It doesn't make any sense.
But this is where certainly the ministry should take a lead role. They should be able to sit down and have some discussions with the people in St. Kitts and work this out seamlessly.
They need to, and they need to involve Namibian farmers in this conversation. It might be easy if a person's on St. Kitts because it's one landmass on St. Kitts, but for farmers in Nevis, it's not so easy. It's not so. It just they're making it a little too difficult, right?
Okay. The chicks that were distributed in St. Kitts, they're going to lay a lot of eggs before anything happens in Nevis. Let's move on 8 months after the Premier made that statement.
On the broiler facility, we are at the stage now having identified the site that we are seeking bids in relation to the construction of the facility itself. I will tell you that we had some initial bids, and the amounts were, how should I put it, beyond what we had anticipated. Let me use that language. So we have gone back to the drawing board in a way to have a second look at the facility to determine, since we're starting the industry, do we need a facility that is designed the way this one was designed, which is a facility that's designed for sort of well-established, long-running, profitable undertaking. So the design had all the bells and whistles that one could imagine. We are hopeful that if we could take out some bells and some whistles, that we could get a project going that could endure. But our ambition is still to proceed with that project this year. That was always the ambition, and so we hope that we'll be able to do that. In relation to the lands to be purchased, I think I'd mentioned that we'll be purchasing some lands. We had some delays there because there were some issues as to the actual amount of land, but we're hopeful now to be at a position where we can settle that and start allocating those lands to individual farmers. That was part of the plan, if you recall, that our model is to have individual farmers farming the birds and then bringing them to a government-run facility for processing. So we're still on that vein, and I will have more information to you as and when we have a quote on the facility that we can manage financially and get us to a point where we can start the industry. We could always have room for growth and expansion later, but we want to be able to start, and to start this year. So thanks for that question.
That is March of 2024, Dr. Daly. So they were waiting on a quote. They got the quote. The quote was substantially higher than they had imagined. I don't think that they did any actual work in terms of they putting a budget together for the facility. Maybe they needed a quantity surveyor.
What strikes me is the ridiculousness of this whole exercise. The first thing is that you have selected a site.
Mm-hmm.
The next thing you're going to do, you're going to get a design. You're going to put the design out to tender. They said they put the design out to tender. Well, who informed on the design? I don't know who is it the contractor.
It's a fair question.
I don't know who the consultant was. Nobody asked me a question.
Mm-hmm.
I could have given them free advice as to how to set it up.
I'd want to be a manager because you're freeing up everything. You need to make some money.
No, it's my public duty and as a lover of agriculture, and especially broiler farming. I would have given them the advice for free. All right, but that's gone. So I don't know who they got to get them the design, because it seemed like they were building another hospital based on what transpired at the hospital extension. Mm-hmm. Because I can't understand what is so complicated about 4 walls and a roof. That is what a processing plant basically is. 4 walls and a roof. You just need a receiving bay, entrance for the birds to come in. They go through the machinery. You got storage in the back, cold storage. You got ice. You got cool storage and cold storage, freezers. I do not see the difficulty of this. All right. Second thing or third thing, the premier spoke about lands at Webb's, 30 acres of lands at one point. They were saying they're going to get at Webb's to place farmers who want to endeavor in doing broiler production. Those lands, I understand, have since been bought by his wife as part of the enclave. You understand what I'm saying to you? Those lands are no longer available. They are part of the package of lands that the premier's wife is trying to purchase or have purchased as part of the sovereign enclave they're trying to establish on the southeast of England.
So that's not an option for the farmers anymore.
That's gone. That is off the table. All right? What is happening now with this design? I can't understand it. Who were persons submitting bids? Because I don't recall any publication of any bids being asked of anybody, any public bids going out. All we're hearing is that it's too much money. They're asking too much money. But if people are building based on what the design is, it's so much per square foot. If you're building a house, it's like $200 to $275, $300 a square foot for the house complete. If you're building a processing plant, my God, it's just 4 sides and a roof. That's all you need, an empty shell, and then which you can lay out your equipment sequentially, and then you have packaging, you have processing done. I don't understand what's so complicated, really and truly. It tells me that they are kicking the can down the road because they simply do not have the money to start any processing plant, to start any industry, because the industry entails much more than a processing plant.
But Dr. Daly, the real problem is that they read the material issued by NRP, where you, Dr. Daly, propose a turnkey operation that would have been operating a long time ago. They didn't quite understand the processes to get the plant operating. And so they thought that just by buying the equipment and saying that we're going to build something, that's it.
But
they never understood
but
it.
It's a foolish way to go about it. The plan that I left at the office when they kicked me out was complete. It was a company out of India who did the entire project. They came, they set the structure up, they populated the structure with equipment that we wanted. They did the training for one price.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it's done. You now gone to one supplier for equipment and another supplier for a building when you can simply get a turnkey and done with it. Simple. This is what people do. This is what industries do. Unless you have a building already built and you need to populate it with equipment, then you go through that procedure they're using. But then they had no building. They had nothing. So when I'm hearing that they are going to now go to Canada and they have gotten Mr. Brand, as he said, well, you're actually going to play the tape.
That's coming up next.
Let's play that one first, and then we're going to have a discussion on that.
The Broiler project, I'm happy that you asked. We are in the process now of I think that the decision has been to order a particular type of building for it. And we have found a supply in Canada. I believe that the Honorable Spencer Brand, through the Ministry of Works, has been assisting us with that, he and his technical team. And the last I heard is that we had signed the agreement for the supply of this. It's sort of a prefabricated type of building that we're going for. That was considered the most cost-effective way. And so I know that we've signed the agreement. I would imagine by now that we would have paid the down payment. And so I'm anticipating that this year for sure we will have that off the ground and running. So that is the anticipation in relation to the Broiler project. We did have some delays. The delays were really associated with the costing of the building, which was coming in much higher than we had anticipated. And so we had to go back to the drawing board to try to get a structure that didn't break the bank. And so we found, through the help of Minister Brand and his team, providers of a structure in Canada. And those are the people now we're trying to deal with to get that structure here on Ireland, get it erected, and then we can try to proceed. So we are seeing some light at the end of that tunnel, and we are hopeful that this year, so sure, we will have that structure in place so that we can move forward. So thank you for that. I really ought to have said that in my...
How much time has it taken? And the equipment has been here for 3 years?
3 years. This year going to make 3 years. But let me say this. The Premier is balling for cost. So, they wanted to find a building that is cost effective. And we're going to go to Canada to get it, a prefab, because that's the most cheapest they can find. Building a processing plant is not a situation where you want the cheapest building. You want a building to be sturdy, hurricane resistant, can last. In a processing plant, there's a lot of moving parts, a lot of water. You have to be certain what you're getting. It can withstand the elements. It can withstand the abuse of what you want to produce. Now, there's a prefab plant building over there. The Canadians had put up, called it Ministry of Agriculture. Mm-hmm. That is ready to be pushed down.
Really and truly, it should be condemned.
It should be condemned. This thing is not safe. But beyond that, you spent $800,000 that you said you spent at the Restream, building some gazebos. You spent $400,000 for the building over there, the Mondo Track, the VIP. You spent $3.5 million up there at the village for VIP booths. And you're trying to tell me, between those acquisitions, those purchases, and those costs, you can't find $1.5 million to put up a proper processing plant that should last 40, 50 years for the benefit of food security on this island, because it's too costly. These guys are jokers. You are prioritizing a 1 day or 2 or 3 day event, or you're prioritizing VIPs over an industry where individuals just said can make a living, where you can provide fresh food to the island. You're now going all the way to Canada. Listen, all you need is 4 walls made of blocks. 8-inch blocks, preferably, with a roof. That's all you need. I don't understand what is so complicated. And I would not trust Spencer Brand to go look for no building after what happened with the hospital wing. He dare call Spencer name in this?
Hi, good evening, caller.
Hey, good evening, good night to you folks. Man, I thought by now me that I eat chicken, local chicken, you know. I read to put my mouth on some, but for some reason or other, I don't know. Then somebody seems to be studying what Kel's saying, Daly saying. He's the man who have the know-how and the way to go about these things. A couple of things. You just mentioned a while ago that the 30 acres of land that you spoke of for people to prepare what they're preparing for the plant. Is there a replacement for the farmers?
No.
That's
gone.
I'm just asking you a question.
No, that's gone. That's off the table.
Yeah, that is gone. That particular area is gone. But
the whole concept of government providing land for farmers to be relocated for broiler industry is gone. That whole concept is gone. That's off the table.
So you have to depend on St. Kitts off island.
Well, you are now left on your own to find your own piece of land to erect your building on which you want to grow your broilers.
Okay.
But so I never really liked the concept either of having all those broilers concentrated in one area, because the danger of a disease outbreak will wipe the entire place out. My sanitation practices might be a little better than yours, and I then suffer the consequence because you're a little bit downwind from me. You understand?
Okay.
So I never supported that concept. But having land available away from habitation, away from human beings, so that you don't have the issue of flies and odor and stuff like that, it still rests with the government, because you don't want large poultry operations within communities. You want them more on the fringes of communities. And most of those lands, like Indian Castle, up at Madden's,
New
River, those are still there for the time being. So you need to make provisions for farmers to be relocated. There's an area upper New River Valley where pig farmers have been placed. There's some poultry farmers in the lower part of New River Valley, but they need to move on these lands and get those things sorted out long before the so-called industry gets off the ground, because farmers need to know what they're doing.
Exactly. That's the same thing. That's why I mentioned you. I mean, you get when they spoke about this thing. Initially, it seemed like was an NRP initiative, NRP project, and so you would have given guidelines as to how to go about these things in order to get it to get it off the ground.
Mm-hmm.
But one of the things you mentioned again, which I fully agree with, this prefab building, it may not be the safest thing to use, because you're gonna have machinery inside here, where you're gonna have things like belts and so on running, and vibration and all them kind of things. You will have to have something, something solid, so it can last. You need a good structure. And the other thing is, I think you mentioned, think it would have gotten some aid from some donors in regard to their plan. I'm wondering if they can get some money, so I think it would help. Even if think it have to spend the money to get ours. I don't know if people want to trust.
Carla, Nevis has had its own government from 1983.
Yeah,
and I do not like to hear people saying, get syndicats to provide, listen, Nevis has its own government. We are slowly giving all of the authority that Nevis has to run its government back to syndicats.
Yeah.
So once you do that, there is no point in having a Nevis Island administration.
Yeah, but the point I'm making is, I'm wondering if nobody wants to trust our government in terms of, monies that they want to give them to spend, because
would you?
there are a number of cases where people were given where this government were giving money, and nobody seemed to give account of how the money, whether the money was spent or what. That was my concern I'm talking about.
Thank you very much, caller. Listen, I don't know if I would trust them. The Taiwanese gave them 167,000 US dollars towards the dialysis.
And you see, this is a
hold a minute. I see Theodore Daniel has joined us.
Okay.
Dr. Daniel, you're late. So you no, is me. I need to include him here. Dr. Daniel, you're late. Welcome to the show anyhow.
Thanks very much, sir. I was trying to log on all the time. It just kept spinning. I don't know what was going on, but I was trying to come in much earlier. Anyway, good evening to all. I mean, and it's always a joy to listen to folks. I listened to some of the premier's pieces that you gracefully sent us and so forth. And I'm wondering if all this talk at one point, when do we get into action? We have a lot of talk. And I was amazed that just every time we try to hold somebody accountable, and there seems to be no accountability in the country. And I'm wondering what's happening, especially with our young people. I'm concerned about our young people. What kind of training are we giving our young people? Are we just preparing them for what, export? What are we doing? So you guys can probably enlighten me in some of these areas here, even in agriculture, because when we were in school and we all did agriculture science, Carlisle, I don't know how well the program is in the schools now. I mean, you're talking about some agricultural information there and so forth. I'm not sure how much agriculture people are actually doing in schools and so forth, and where we are with all of these.
Let me say one more thing, Carlisle. The Premier has all of these millionaire people in his back pocket, or they have him in his back pocket, in their back pockets. And you also have this idea he speaks about all the time, about public-private partnerships. How difficult will it be to approach private persons, millionaire people who live on the Nevis, with a project like this? And they would say no. I don't think that would happen. When we were looking at getting financing for the veterinary extension, Nevis Ark put in a lot of money. The majority of money came from Nevis Ark, matter of fact. All the equipment came from Nevis Ark. And that's a private animal rescue program. Even without private venture, private money, we as a people in 2025 are saying to the world, we are unable to erect a building that costs less than $1 million. That is the message we are sending out to the world, that we are incapable of finding the financing for $1 million or less building, because I can't say how it costs $1 million. When you look at the abattoir size and the volume of animals that pass through, it's not a big building, but it's efficiently laid out. Why is it that we are struggling at this point in time? And I would really like to know who the consultants are on this, because I would really like to have a conversation with them. I've been to so many slaughterhouses, broiler processing plants, from Virginia to Maryland, to West Virginia, to Pennsylvania, that whole belt. Visit a lot of them. And none of them are complicated. 4 walls and a roof. And then the rest is just outlay of your equipment, your storage, your packaging, your output. That's it. I don't understand who's trying to make money off of this. Because you're hearing, they want a conference room. A conference room?
For a slaughterhouse?
In a slaughterhouse? They want offices in a slaughterhouse? It's a slaughterhouse.
Yeah, they might ask for a gym. Listen, there is an interesting comment here on Facebook, and I got a text to say that we ignore the Facebook messages too much. Oh. So there's an interesting comment here from Chev, in line with what you were talking about. It's and it relates to the cost, with the Premier saying that it costs more than they expected. So this is the same script from all of the other delayed projects. Yeah. The costing is more than expected. Mm-hmm. They either need to find a new estimator, or stop putting the cart before the horse. Figure out how much things cost before you start anything.
Exactly.
And you can say that about every single one of the projects that they have done.
Every project. That's a good point, Chef. That's a very good point. You know, we see it at the Mondo. We saw it at the pier at Orly. We saw it at the hospital. We saw it at the police station in Newcastle. We saw it at the Treasury building. Every time this government puts its hand on a project, it's cost overrun and time overrun. And I'm talking about, I ain't talking about not 10%, 20% different.
Mm-hmm.
I'm talking about millions of dollars over budget.
Mm-hmm.
For example, the Newcastle police station was to cost 3.5 million.
Mm-hmm.
It cost over 5 million.
Yeah, almost double the cost.
The Treasury building in Charlestown was slated for 8 million. It's over $11.5 million. You see, sitting there in town. All right? So it is just pure cost. The taxpayers are eating all these costs because these guys are.
Yeah. The hospital was to cost 18 million. Okay. It's already over 20 and a long way to go. Okay. Good evening, caller.
Good evening, Carlisle. Good evening, Dr. Daly, and good evening, Mr. Daniel.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I think one of you alluded to something a while ago about having investors in back pockets. But one of the things that we have to realize is that when people are serious about business or making a commitment, from the moment they sit down with you over a drink, a plate of food, a ride in a car, you're being observed. Your interview starts then. And at the end of it all, if nothing comes back, you know you failed. You didn't pass the interview. And that's what's happening. I mean, when I listen to you guys talk about all of these different things, you think the persons, the investors, haven't done their homework? Let me tell you something about those people, huh? When they come to Nevis, they know more about Nevis than you and I. They have done their homework, and they know exactly what is happening and what's not going to happen. And that is the problem we have in Nevis. The records show that we have failed miserably on almost every project that we have tried to put our hands on. Perhaps it's time for everybody to move away from the table and hire somebody who could run a business called running a country. Because the people that are there right now are not showing us that they could run a business. They cannot run this country. And that's simply what's going on. It's sad. It really, really, really is depressing. The opportunities that we have here. And nothing's happening. The hospital, what a joke. It's frightening. Our mental health is at stake. It's always been at stake, but it's gotten worse. When we can't even make a building work to function with what we have already, we can't even put the building together. What does that tell you about the people who are making the decisions? Who is in charge of these decisions and what is happening and why they're not happening? It seems to me the amount of time we spend on a talk show once a week, perhaps we need to spend that time doing planning and processing and how we're going to move to the next level, because it's a total waste of time what's going on here, and it's not good. It is not good. I don't know where we're going to go next. When I listen to you about the broiler system, I did not even realize it was 3 years. Now, the other question I have is, when are we ever going to get to the point in this island, in this country, where it's people over politics? And if we have something to do, and we have a person, for instance, like a Dr. Daly, with that type of training and background, regardless of what party he's with, hire the man, give him a contract. This is your time to make sure, to show off and figure out if Dr. Daly really know what he's talking about and do it. But my point is, when you have somebody that have that kind of background. Put them in charge of something like this. How are you gonna put this in somebody's hands who don't know what they're doing?
Carla,
How are you gonna do that?
Carla, you're making absolute sense, but we are spending almost $140 million on an airport, and nobody. The last time I spoke to Captain Barnabas Esdale, who is somebody who I highly respect, I asked him point blank, have you been consulted? Anybody from the NIA got in touch with you to kind of pick your brains on the airport expansion? He said, Carlisle, no. He said, has anybody been in touch with you? Because you were at the airport for 20 years, I said, not me. And nobody has called me. Nobody has sent a message. Alexis Jeffers is in charge.
I was just going to say you got an advisor who don't even know how to get from Cotton Ground to Jessup.
Thank you very much, Carla.
Have a good night, gentlemen.
You have a good night.
There's one other point to Carlisle in the chain of conversation. The Alexandria Hospital, you speak to the doctors after the fact. You ask them, were you guys brought into a room for consultation?
No.
Nope.
None of the senior doctors I spoke to.
Nobody was spoken to. After the fact, after the shit hit the fan, they'll try to have conversation. What can you say then? You already screwed up the whole plant. What do you want me to tell you at this point? And so, it is, the caller made a reference, how long do we as Navisians tolerate these sequential excuses year by year about the same thing? Intolerable. You know why it's intolerable, Carlisle? You know why it's intolerable? Because these guys are on the payroll. They are being paid from the public purse to lead on all of these issues. And they're not delivering. All we are getting are excuse after excuse after excuse. None of them which make sense. But we are paying them every month. The premier is walking home with $17,000, $18,000 a month. The advisors are walking home with $10,000 a month. Other ministers are walking home with $137,000 a month. A year, sorry. It is unconscionable that they're extracting payment from us for doing nothing. And we are tolerating it.
I agree with you. Let's take a break.
Do you know what you're drinking? If you are drinking plastic bottled water, chances are you're consuming plastic contaminants, BPA, and other hormone-disrupting chemicals you cannot see with your naked eye. Those empty plastic bottles take up to 450 years to decompose. In the meantime, plastic bottles are polluting the environment. They are dangerous to the planet and our health. The safer solution is to acquire your own Kangen alkaline water filtration system, and you will never have to buy toxic bottled water again. Help save the planet and drink clean water for less than the price you'll pay for acid plastic bottled water over the next few years. The Kangen technology is the world's most popular, most acquired water immunizer. For more information, you can call or WhatsApp us on 917-207-1307. That's 917-207-1307. Change your water, change your life.
Pico, the way to go for residential, commercial, and industrial wiring, data, security, UPS and generator installation. When you need electrical work done now, done right, done at an affordable price, contact Finney's Electrical Company. Call or WhatsApp 665-1916 or email pico_1166@yahoo.com. Pico, the way to go.
Hi, I am Jolie. News Academy is a great school with amazing boys and girls. At News Academy, we do more than academics. At News Academy, we prepare you for life. That is why we get involved in the community and do many projects such as cleaning up the beaches, taking care of the elderly, the animals, and even giving drinks to the fathers on Father's Day. We are a caring group of students and staff. We care. Won't you join us in taking care of our environment and our community? Let's make Nevis nice.
Thank you very much. Nevis Academy, they had their graduation today, and they decided that they want to promote the school, and they want to do so via Tell Me. So we are happy for that, always happy for that. Gentlemen, I'm going to move on now to some comments which the Premier made on the Public Accounts Committee. Something was weighing heavily on his mind, Dr. Daniel and Dr. Daly, because for his show this week, he went on a more than an hour-long rant and all kind of things, including the Public Accounts Committee. I'm not going to tell you what he said. I'm going to play some clips for you.
Since your day, you ever go on a mission of public accounts?
The Public Accounts Committee has not been formed, no.
So why not formed?
Well, it has just not happened. It has not happened yet. It has never been formed. So it is a matter that needs to be attended to, and it is a matter that I intend to deal with, but it has not been formed. It has never been formed. In fact, I don't think we've ever had a functioning Public Accounts Committee in the history of St. Kitts and Nevis.
I'll play another clip.
Yeah, good evening.
Yes, good evening.
So let me ask you something. Ain't you responsible in forming the Public Accounts Committee?
Yes, the leader of the opposition. Yes.
So how come you ain't forming? So you can't say nothing about the public accounts then? That is what you're saying. Let me hear what you're going to say to that.
All right, caller. Thank you very much for that. I have simply said that in my recollection, we've never had a Public Accounts Committee. It is something, however, that I think ought to be formed. It is something that I'm interested in getting going, but we've never had one in the history of the country. So if you want to attack me to say I have no interest, then I suppose you're attacking everyone else, that nobody has ever had an interest. But that is not the case, because we obviously debate expenditure each year in the Parliament. We have an opportunity to do so, and that has been the model that we have employed. Not to say that the Public Accounts Committee is not important, nor to say that it ought not to be formed, but we've never had one. Neither in St. Kitts nor in Nevis over the years, and we've been independent since 1983, so I believe this year makes, 42 years of independence. We've never had that committee in place. So if you want to attack me for that, well, just add it to the list. That you had a long list earlier, just add that one as well, and see how far that would take you.
I'm gonna go first, gentlemen, because Mark Brantley has been a member of the federal parliament since 2007. I think it was July in 2007 when he won the by-election to replace Malcolm Gishard. 2007. Mark has been the Premier of Nevis since 2017. So he has been in the opposition as leader of the opposition in the federal parliament. He has been Premier of Nevis. So he has had chances, both if it is that the leader of the opposition is the one who should proceed on that, then he has been the leader of the opposition. If it is that it is the leader of government who should proceed on that, he has been the Premier. So he can't escape. He said that it has never been formed. He has been the Premier since 2017. If he's interested in good governance, surely one of the tenets of good governance is having a functioning public accounts committee. But let me read something from SKN Pulse back in 2017. Because Mark Brantley, must have a good memory if you are telling the kind of lies that Mark Brantley tells. Now, here it is, a story from 2017. And who was talking here? Congress Maynard on an issues program. Maynard pointed out that the legislation of the National Assembly mandates the Minister of Finance, Dr. Timothy Harris, to provide office and secretariat facilities to the committee, which shall submit its report to the National Assembly from time to time. He noted that following the 2010 general elections, then Prime Minister and Minister of Finance, the Right Honorable Dr. Denzel L. Douglas, following practice, announced the appointment of the then Leader of the Opposition, Honorable Mark A.G. Brantley, at the first sitting of the lawmaking body as a member of the committee. Other members then were Dr. the Honorable Timothy Harris, Honorable Nigel Carty, Honorable Patrice Nisbet, and Honorable Sean Richards. So Mark said that one had never been formed in the Federation. But Mark was the chairman of a public accounts committee that was announced in 2010.
He was the leader of the opposition.
He was the leader of the opposition. He was the chairman of the public accounts committee in 2010. And this week on his show said that one had never been formed in the Federation. It just never happened.
He never expect persons to research, but that's on him. I've said to people all along that access to information is no longer an issue. We have access to information 24/7. These smart devices here are miraculous in the ability to find information. You can't erase it. These are public files. These are public documents. These are presentations by organizations that cannot be erased. They are there forever. And so anything that is written or said can be found.
Mm-hmm.
And this is a pure, clean example of this hypocrisy and his lying that a public accounts committee was never being formed and functional.
He said it on his show on Wednesday night. By Thursday morning when I woke up, I had the information already.
There you go.
My crack researcher had already gone, researched the matter, and said to me, listen, here are the clips of what Mark Brantley said. Here is the information that was published. Dr. Douglas announced the committee members. Mark Brantley was the chairman. I mean, how could he, you know why Mark forgot? Because the Public Accounts Committee probably never met under his watch.
Carl, because something has not been formed and there was never one according to him, if you take what he said, you are the person in charge. When you get elected, if something has never been formed, aren't you supposed to be the guy, to be the groundbreaking guy to form one?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Relevant. And I want to piggyback just a few minutes, if you don't mind.
Stick a pin because we have a call. Just make a note so that you don't lose the trend of thought. Good evening, caller.
Good evening, gentlemen.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I wonder what would have happened to science industry and the medical professions if they had the same attitude. You know, we've never done open heart surgery before, therefore we shouldn't do it. We've never done cataract implants in eyes before, therefore we shouldn't do it. We've never made a machine that can go up in the air with a human being and fly. Therefore, the Wright brothers shouldn't have done it because it had never been done before. And this can go on and on through all of science and life. Back in early human history, we've never had a wheel on a cart to help us carry things around. So why should we do it? There's always a first step. And if you're in a position to be groundbreaking, what more honorable thing is there? The man who did the first open heart surgery, the honor and the prestige attached to that is unbelievable. You know? So I don't understand this. Just because it's never been done, you shouldn't do it? Well, I tell you what, we wouldn't have cars, planes, knife and fork, we wouldn't have metal, we wouldn't have anything if our forefathers thought the same way. The human race would have still been living in caves.
Thank you very much, caller. Tero?
Yeah, I wanted to just go piggyback a little bit on the hospital because I think there's some information. A few years ago, with regard to that hospital, when the wiring, the electrical part was to be done, was the grant, then he was in charge of the electrical part of that addition. And he reached out after he realized that there are problems, that there were many problems. And he reached a roadblock, and he reached out to Gilbert and said, hey, you better rescue us here because we are in a really tight bind. I mean, you hired people to build a hospital who they didn't know if you hire a builder for a hospital, it's not the same person who built a house. It's a different. And Gilbert was able to put together a number of people from his group up here. They flew to Nevis. They stayed at the Four Seasons, and they went over, they did their analysis and everything. And these guys, they came on a chartered plane. These guys did their analysis and everything, and they came back up. And then they submitted a report on what they want to do. But when it got to the premier and he realized that, hey, there are certain names in here that I don't really like, I mean, Gilbert being one of them, because then he put a stop basically to the program. The junior minister of health, then she is in possession of a letter that she knows that came from the hospital, that she knows. And she knows that letter detail every problem there that were given to Mark, and that she is in possession of that letter. If she wants to inform the public as to what is going on and what went on, she could enlighten a lot of you as to what went on because she knows.
Thank you very much. I think we have somebody online. Good evening, caller.
Yeah, good evening to the listening public. Good evening to you guys in the studio.
Good evening.
The opposition leader is saying they form any public account committee down in the National Assembly, no? If you think here, opposition leader, they form the committee down in the National Assembly and we'll see what happens. Good night.
Have a good night, sir.
Here's my take on this Public Accounts Committee, because by any measure, the Public Accounts Committee is the most powerful committee, standing committee of the Parliament. By any measure, they have the power to subpoena, they have the power to get records, anything they want to get their hands on, they can get. So, holding the government to account as the leader of the opposition it's a perfect tool to get to the bottom of issues, the costing of projects, etc., etc. I suspect the Premier is not interested in forming this committee because he doesn't want to put any smoke in the direction of Dr. Drew. There are some major projects and thinkings that should be investigated and should be held account, regular meetings. He's not interested in any of that because it takes work. A committee takes work because you have to do a report, you have to defend that report, you have to present that report in Parliament. It takes work. And so he's not interested in working too hard. He goes down and gets his salary. I'm certain that the chairman of the board, chairman of the committee gets an additional stipend, but he's not interested in working hard.
He's not used to working hard either. Good evening, caller.
Good evening, gentlemen.
How are you tonight?
I'm giving God the glory. Let me tell you guys something. I am going back to people who don't like me and how we think. And I am not believing now, having heard the Premier's story at every press conference, telling us something different. I am not going to call it and say he lied. You guys are bright. And I have to figure out what you think is happening. But for me, who not bright, who thinking outside the box, something is happening, but I don't think he is lying. Good night and goodbye.
Thank you very much. You're going deep. That was Mark on the Public Accounts Committee. Nevis is broke. There's no question about that. Somebody asked him a question about the one plow situation. I didn't realize that Nevis down to one plow. Somebody asked him a question. Let me play that clip and get his response.
Is it possible in the near future to secure additional funding for at least an additional plow to ease the burden on that one plow and the extended wait periods that farmers have to go through? Thank you.
Short answer, Ms. Jeffers, is yes. This is a matter that we have to consider. Of course, the difficulty with small governments, small island governments like ours, is always financing. And you always have competing needs for that financing. I'll give you an example. The ETW Park was not on the cards for any upgrade this year. But when the Cricket Association advised us that they were going to be able to host, or the St. Nevis was going to be hosting the under-19, we had to find resources right away to try and do some upgrades there so as to make the area more presentable for the cricket. That's an example, I think, of sometimes the difficulty in managing the resources, because we end up with expenditure sometimes that is unbudgeted for unexpected sometimes. This is an area that I would take up with the Minister of Agriculture. I do know that he did report at some point that we had some equipment breakdowns. I'm not sure that we only have one plow. It may well be that maybe we have one plow that's functional. So I'll try to find out that. But I want to say to our farmers that we are committed to them. In fact, when you looked at, if you cast our minds back to COVID, our farming sector got the largest level of support from the government or any other sector. They were the ones who got the most support because we felt that food security was going to be critical. And so we continue to partner with our farmers, we continue to push food security, we continue to say to them that we want to do more, and where the resources are available, we intend to do more. So I'm going to investigate that. I wasn't told that there was just one plow available. I do know that we've had some equipment failures, but I'll investigate that, and I can assure you, Ms. Jeffers, that the answer is absolutely yes. If we need to invest more.
This is so hurtful. Why is it, Carlisle? Why is it that when it comes to agriculture, that is the only ministry that is always in a situation there is money shortfall? Why is it only agriculture that you can't find money to assist? Why is it? You know, it is becoming unbearable.
Hi, good evening, caller.
Carlisle, do you think the lights will ever go on in the Premier's head? That this press conference would work better if he was surrounded by his ministers and they could jump in and answer some of these questions? Why are we hearing in a press conference that he has to go back and ask the minister about this and ask the minister about that? It makes no sense.
It's deliberate.
Absolutely deliberate.
It's deliberate.
I understand that, huh? But I mean, come on. How long are we going to be played for fools? How long are we going to be treated like we don't know any better or we can't figure out anything? I have one other question. As I listen to all of this and I hear about the geothermal, do you guys think who is going to be in charge of this geothermal project? The Nevis Island government?
I don't think that you listen to the Premier when he talk, because the Premier has said on a number of occasions recently that is a federal matter. That is no longer a Nevis matter. The resource is a Nevis, but control of the resources are no longer associated with Nevis. That has been sent down over to St. Kitts. But we're going to address geothermal on its own.
Besides the fact that you are right, it comes a point every time that I just shut off because I can't take it anymore. But the thing is, it's frightening. And I asked myself that question because if with all these other projects, we can't get them fixed, how are we going to take something on like geothermal? It's just mind-boggling. We sound stupid. We sound crazy. We sound like we have no sense. Who is running this country? Really? Who is running this country? And you hear the chatter. These talk shows, they need to be shut down. And maybe it's willful. Maybe they're hoping that nobody's listening. Because it's utter foolishness. It's not good. Nevis does not look good, does not sound good right now at all. And I don't know if anybody's stopping to think and look at that, or it's just let's proceed as normal and let's see what happens. But it's not good. It's really not good. Thank you, guys.
Thank you very much. Listen, we have a number of clips on this whole geothermal thing, but we're not going to deal with them tonight.
Let me say one thing about this plow business.
Mm-hmm.
Because people are using plows and tractors interchangeably, and they're two different things. The plow is the implement. The tractor is of course, the machinery, the machine. When NRP was there, we had three tractors, brand new tractors, 3 brand new tractors. We had a lot of plows. That's the implement that breaks the soil, tills the soil. When I heard this clip, of course, I'm going to investigate. Because how can you go from 3 working brand new tractors down to 1?
Mm-hmm.
But that is where they're at right now. They have 1 tractor. They have many plows. 1 tractor. The 2 tractors that are down have been down for over a year. For over a year. Waiting for parts. Parts can't come unless the money goes.
Correct.
And the parts are sourced through a company in Barbados. They're the agents for those tractors. And so every transaction goes through Barbados. They stock parts in Barbados. Most parts. And so they're here within a week, 2 weeks at most.
Mm-hmm.
So to have a tractor down for a year.
Don't make any sense.
Don't make no sense.
I'll come back to that after this call. Good evening, caller.
Good evening, gentlemen. You have a word called priority, right? And so it all depends what your priorities are. So I've noticed that the press conferences by the Premier tend to have a lot of catchphrases in it. And one of the catchphrases he uses almost every time is food security. Well, I wonder where the priority is in food security, where you don't have enough plows to plow up agricultural land, but you have enough resources and money available to plow up the road down by pennies. So it comes down to priority and what you prioritize. The cost of doing that piece of road could have buy about 3 brand new plows. Okay? So it all depends what you see as important. And so I question what is prioritized. Because if you have a limited resources, you prioritize what matters to you. So obviously, plowing up the road by pennies matters more than plowing up the land for sweet potato.
Thank you very much, caller. I just want to make one single point. You're talking about equipment and not being able to order parts and so on. This is nothing new when it comes to CCM, Dr. Daly. Mm-hmm. When we got into office in 2006, I was a Minister of Communications and Works. There was a bulldozer up in the quarry, which had been off the road waiting for parts for years. Years. I asked the people at Public Works, please go and check it for me. Tell me what parts the bulldozer needed. They said, we don't have to go, we know. We can just look in the file and tell you what parts have been requested for that bulldozer. And it was up on a little hillside. Fellows gave us the order, gave it to Ernie. We had the bulldozer up and working in less than 2 months, after having been sat there for more than 5 years. We took the bulldozer from up in the quarry and we sent it over to solid waste. Why? Because they were paying a bulldozer at solid waste about $30,000 a month. When the government had a bulldozer that just needed parts. So we ended that contract and we sent over that bulldozer so that we could save some money. It's nothing new, Dr. Daly. This is something that these fellows do. So those tractors which are down requiring simple parts, I bet it's not a lot of money.
No.
It's not a lot of money, but the government is broke. But we can't say the government broke, because if we say it, we get in trouble. Let me play something here, because they seem to get very upset when we say that the government is broke. Let me go to your not so favorite person first.
As I said, we've had our challenges, and you hear all kind of things out there that Nevis is broke and all kind of foolishness coming from the NRP and the opposition. And it reminds me, you see, history is something, and I always talk about history. We have a history here in this island, We have a history here on this island, and we've had these conversations before. And the NRP would want to say, oh, the NIA is broke. Well, you can say what you like. It is a challenge, but we are paying our bills. We are paying our civil servants on time. We are paying our local debts. We are paying our regional debts. We are paying our international debts. And I can say to the people of Nevis that in 2000 and I believe it was 2012, somewhere in September of 2012, there was a consultation right down there at the Marriott. A national consultation where the federal government was involved, having this consultation on the economy. And none other than one of the technocrats from the Ministry of Finance, the PS of Finance then, and I can call his name because it's out there in print, where, and I'm not knocking Mr. Larry Lawrence, but he was the permanent secretary then, and let us be clear, he was permanent secretary under the Concerned Citizens Movement prior to the NRP getting into government in 2006. So he was well equipped to make such a statement because he would have done the comparison, and he said down there that Nevis was broke, and that created a huge stir here on the island of Nevis. He said Nevis was broke, and there was no need for him to tell any lies, because he was there as the PS then under the Concerned Citizens Movement. He was there as the PS under the NRP, and he would have made that comparison, and he provided all the details about the economic situation of Nevis then in 2012.
I played all that long thing, Dr. Daly, because I want you to understand, I want the people to understand that if Alexis says that Larry Lawrence says that Nevis broke under NRP, that's fine. But you can't say so. You must not say that Nevis is broke under CCM. Don't say it, otherwise he's going to get vexed with you. We'll come back to that after this. Good evening, caller.
Good evening, it's me again. Well, I would want them to explain if Nevis not broke, because they had a couple of older cleaners. These are women who come in the office, spend 2 hours, clean the office and leave. They were sent home, both NRP supporters and CCM supporters. One of the CCM supporters said, oh, when I used to hear your costly premier, I used to vex what all warriors say about her macho. The woman is so hurt. And to be honest, I am wondering who the government is going to replace in these 2 hours a day job. You go in, you dust, you wipe, you clean, you sweep, and you're done. If the government had money, I don't have to be waiting for $5 million every month. I didn't hear that Mr. Parry or Sim Daniel was getting that. And so if Nevis was broke, it's because Nevis was standing on the 2 feet. They wasn't propped up by the federal government. And right now, being propped up, culture people still have local money. So if that no broke, could you tell me what you call it? Good night and goodbye.
Well, let me play the next clip of somebody who could say that Nevis broke and Alex is not going to get vexed with him.
You asked about the extension of the concession. It's a question that we keep getting asked. But again, I want to remind the public that the government is running on empty right now. I don't think it's empty. We're running on fumes. Things are difficult. And we have tried our very best to provide a cushion, provide concessions, provide support to cushion the impact of COVID, which has happened to all of us. And so the question of do we extend concessions, that is a question that we are now considering what is possible and what we can do. Nevlec has suffered financially in a tremendous way as a result of the concessions that we asked them to give to the public. And we know that it's not sustainable. It can't go on for an indefinite period because Nevlec would collapse. So I want the public to understand, because there seems to be sometimes a perception of Washington that government has a printing press somewhere in the Premier's office, and when you need money, you just produce it. So everybody comes to the government and says to us, well, listen, we need this, we need that, we need the other. We understand.
I got one more before you comment, gentlemen.
But this is a government that is poor financially. It is poor financially. We have an excellent way of stretching the money. And even though we are poor financially, we normally make a lot of things happen. True. And of course, that is seen all over Nevis, wherever you go. With the little resources that we have, we make a lot of things happen. And so, even though we are poor, we try as much as possible to pump as much as we can into the Culturama Festival.
Okay, so Mark could say that Nevis is running on fumes. Eric could say that Nevis is poor, but Dr. Daly, you can't say so. If you say so, you're wrong.
Listen, Zook is a fool. There's no other way to put it. The man is a complete idiot. I mean, we are sitting here debating what Zook is saying. What Zook is saying makes sense. If you're paying all your bills as a man of your house, you pay your light bill, your water bill, your mortgage, whatever it is. At the end of the month, you have the money. Aren't you broke?
You're broke. Good evening, caller.
Good evening, gentlemen. It's me again. I'm scrolling through my phone and I see something here. I don't know if it is false news or it's for real. All who want some free drinks tonight, check me at the Music Fest under the Blue Tent in the area over so. A caption by the Premier. I'm not saying it's true, I'm not sure, I don't know. It's on my phone. I don't know if anybody else see it. But I remembered when, was it this and that, who been singing a song Country Above Food? He was talking about NRP and having fetes and providing for the supporters. I live long enough to see on Mother's Day, the Premier have food. On Father's Day, the Premier give away food. You remember when the Premier used to keep, what do you call it, children Christmas party? Parents were told, I am feeding your children, not you. Do not come expecting anything. Have your child for 4 hours. When you come, you pick up your child and you leave. They weren't afforded a beer. All of a sudden, as my old grandmother would say, food a bang dog. Everything is food and more food. And I realized the Premier trying to attack NRP, saying that NRP is selling to mothers and selling to fathers. Well, NRP has to raise the funds. NRP don't have funds like the others. NRP did like all the other political parties in Sinkis. We had a Christmas gala. PAM had one. Labour had one. PLP had one. CCM had none. And it makes me wonder, when every other party is trying to raise funds for whatever reason it is, could you guys tell me why CCM doesn't have to raise no funds? It's cause for concern because everybody say, like, I don't know because I can neither spell nor pronounce. Everybody say election take money. And so everybody is trying to raise their own funds that be able to have some money, whether now or election time. System is not raising no funds.
They don't have to.
And the people of Nevis should ask themselves, well, if 4 out of 5 parties are raising funds, where CCM money come from? And if you think what I am thinking, well, we all could have been better off if the money was spent otherwise. Good night and goodbye.
Thank you very much, caller. Hold on, guys. Let's go take another break before we get in trouble with our sponsors, because we got to pay the bills.
Do you know what you're drinking? If you are drinking plastic bottled water, chances are you're consuming plastic contaminants, BPA, and other hormone-disrupting chemicals you cannot see with your naked eye. Those empty plastic bottles take up to 450 years to decompose. In the meantime, plastic bottles are polluting the environment. They are dangerous to the planet and our health. The safer solution is to acquire your own Kangen alkaline water filtration system, and you'll never have to buy toxic bottled water again. Help save the planet and drink clean water for less than the price you'll pay for acid plastic bottled water over the next few years. The Kangen technology is the world's most popular, most acquired water immunizer. For more information, you can call or WhatsApp us on 917-207-1307. That's 917-207-1307. Change your water, change your life.
Pico, the way to go. residential, commercial, and industrial wiring, data, security, UPS and generator installation. When you need electrical work done now, done right, done at an affordable price, contact Finney's Electrical Company. Call or WhatsApp 665-1916 or email pico_1166@yahoo.com. Pico, the way to go.
Books are just the beginning. At Nevis Academy, we're learning how to be smart, kind, and ready for the world.
Welcome back. It's Tell Me. It's a Thursday night. You have Dr. Kelvin Daly, Dr. Theodore Daniel, Carlisle Powell is here. Tulu, hope that you're home and that you're doing good.
There's a quote here.
Yes.
I want to share because it was shared with me today by a good friend of mine. And I wish to share it with the audience because it goes into the last conversation that we just had about how the government is operating, the only party in the Federation that doesn't have to raise any money for itself. And there's a quote here attributed to a poet called Juvenal. It's a Greek poet, a Roman poet, sorry. And he says, "Give them bread and circuses, and they will never revolt. Give them bread and circuses, and they will never revolt." This is the playbook that Brantley and CCM are using on the people of Nevis. You get them free concerts, you get them free Mother's Day, free Father's Day, free this, free that. Give them bread and circuses, and they will never revolt. And this is what they've been doing, intoxicating people with their bread and circuses. So keep them quiet.
And telling lies too. I want to play this clip because I must get to it tonight because it aggravates me.
And I don't even want to go into Nevis Housing and Land because if I go into that, I'll have to spend maybe 2 hours to go into that and speak about the corruption that existed there and the wanton waste and those who were taken as they like they had the checkbook walking around Charlestown, even down at Marriott, down in that what you call it, down in the Marriott casino. They had their account down there, gambling away the people's money. And they think that they're so holier than thou. No, the facts are there. And when they talk, you think that these people, when they talk, they never were in government and they have a clean sheet that they're operating from.
Patrice Nisbet was the deputy chairman of Nevis Housing and Lands Development Corporation. Roberto Hector was the chairperson, and Eustace Nisbet was the manager at Nevis Housing and Land Development Corporation. I was not involved, but I was part of the government, so I was involved. And when I heard Alexis Jeffers saying that ministers and the people responsible for Nevis Housing and Land Development Corporation were involved in corruption, and that people had the checkbook walking around tongue in their back pocket, and that they had account down at Marriott Casino. I say, well, Alexis Jeffers, boy, maybe you have made it a habit to tell lies, but you're going to have to know when to draw the line, Mr. Jeffers, because I don't believe that you believe that statement that you made. And if you did, you were the minister responsible for Nevis Housing and Land Development Corporation. Why didn't you initiate proceedings, legal proceedings, against those members who were members of the Nevis Housing and Land Development Corporation? Why just go on the radio and try to throw some dirt? People will know, people knew, people are going to know who were the top people in the Nevis Housing and Land Development Corporation. I don't think that you believe that you are telling people that an ordinary worker had access to the checkbook and was walking around town looking for people to hand checks to, and that these people had accounts down at Marriott Casino. Alexis Jeffers, I don't think you believe that. And if you believe that, I am going to say to myself that you're not as smart as you think you are. But I take great offense to that, Alexis Jeffers. This comes right from the CCM playbook, where you keep sending out all these lies about people. And then if anybody say anything that touches you or come close to touching you, you get offended.
You start to sue.
And you start to sue. I mean, Alexis Jeffers, you were the minister when they cleaned off all that extra section down at Indian Castle for the second phase of the project.
Yeah.
All you spend a bundle of money.
$406,000.
You, Mr. Jeffers, you are still associated with the government as an advisor. That was supposed to be phase 2. That was cleaned off before the last election. And you know what? The bush is higher than before it was cleaned. And no phase 2 has happened. As a matter of fact, phase 1 is at a stage where you don't even bother to mention it nowadays.
I remember that I got a tip-off of a property over there, Shaw's Road, filled to the rafters.
I remember.
With supplies that could build 3 or 4 homes. The yard was festooned with steel and blocks. And I remember doing a story on it. And by the morning, I published a story the evening. By the morning, a truck was heading from St. James to
Housing and
Land.
At Bath.
At Bath. To offload 27 pallets of blocks from that property at Shaw's Road. So when he's throwing stones, you better know who he's throwing stones at. The funny thing is, we are advised that he gifted himself an increase as chairman of the Board of Housing and Land to the $2,500 per month extra because he said he manages the quarry. Why don't talk? Don't throw stones. Right? People who are reporting the same minister walking around town with a checkbook in the pocket, building to Housing and Land. What are you talking about? He's trying to mirror his behavior on somebody else. It doesn't work. Right? And so they have not done any criminal activity or laid any criminal activity against anybody. They said they found all this corruption and blah blah blah. So where are the charges? Where the evidence? Where are the files? They keep talking about this and talking about that, throwing stuff on a wall and hoping it will stick. It's not sticking because people are seeing the similarity between his house and government buildings. They're seeing similarities in the materials used. So is this a coincidence? Nah. Don't throw stones, brother. You live in a glass house. You live in a glass house. Don't throw stones. Let's go.
Daily, do these people get a chance to be questioned? And
no.
They just get up and talk.
They just talk.
Question them. I mean, no one question them and cross-examine them. Nothing at all. Just talk. So you could just talk and say some stuff. You don't give any examples or anything. You just say, hey, this guy is corrupt. So give me an example. What did he do? Right? And who challenged them? And that's, I just don't understand the some aspects of the politics of these things here. I mean, in that you can just accuse people, impugn the integrity of others without any credible evidence, and then you just keep moving on to the next thing without any proof and people believe. And then you're not held accountable because at election time, people still vote back for the same people without holding them accountable.
Okay. Good evening, caller. That one hung up. Good evening, caller.
Good evening again, gentlemen. The Marriott Casino thing there, that is laughable. The one place that counts every dime and does not open itself up to fraud is a casino. That's anywhere in the world. The Marriott Casino would not accept a credit card for payment through the casino, let alone a check. So that's laughable. And if you go one step further, the Marriott Hotel will not accept cash or check. It has to be a credit card. If you want to go and buy a Coca-Cola in the bar in the Marriott Hotel, you have to use a credit card. The casino itself, the only thing they deal with is cash. Okay, they don't accept card, check, none. Because they want to be able to count every dollar. And they have people that spend the whole time just watching the money. That this is how casinos operate all over the world. So I find it hilarious that somebody with a checkbook in the back pocket gone in the Marriott casino.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Carla. It is as stupid as it sounds, and only Alexis could do that.
No, the guy, I mean, nobody has a right to be this stupid. I mean, he's absolutely ridiculously stupid.
Let me take this overseas call. Good evening, caller.
Good evening, Carla, Dr. Daly, and Dr. Daniel.
Good evening.
Carla, I just want to step back a bit on a comment that was made by the Premier using the Nevis Cricket Association. I must commend you. You have been elevated. That monies that was supposed to go towards maybe purchasing of equipment for the tractor have now been diverted to the Nevis Cricket Association. So agriculture will suffer because of the Nevis Cricket Association. I just want to make that note. So I hope, Carla, that in the name of transparency, you will let the Nevis public know how much money was given to you for the upgrade of the E.T. Willett Park. You have been waiting for a long while, and I just want you to be aware of this. I know you're not going to get 5 million.
Caller, I was surprised that Mr. Powell just skipped past that part. Because I was going to ask the same question.
I gave him enough time to rebut that, but he's not talking about the money that is being diverted to him, and agriculture is suffering. And let me warn you, Mr. President, that same comment is going to be used as an excuse for the delay of the work on the hospital as well, because you're getting the money now up by the E.T. Willett Park. So I just want you to know that. I am observing it. So make sure you come to us and you tell us how much money you spend up in the park. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Bye. I wouldn't be surprised if you and your sister put you up to it. Good evening, caller. Thanks for holding.
Yes, good evening. Let me tell you something, right? Somebody always try to throw a stone and turn their back. You remember they launched an attack on Roberto Hector?
Mm-hmm.
And they had the files. And Roberto did this, that, and the other. There was no inquiry, nothing proven. Well, if I remember well, and me not just born, I know Mr. Parry House, and I know Hensley House, and I know Carlisle House. Went into politics, CM House. I believe I put little pain upon them. Mr. Parry repair a roof. Look on this other side now. Take a look at the other side now and see who become rich very quick. Good night and goodbye.
Thank you very much, caller. Let me get quickly the caller. The Cricket Association ain't getting none of that money. We got some money when the team was going to Antigua. The money that is being spent in the park, if we had spent the money, trust me, you would have had 100% accounting. I have some people there in the association, they're very good with money, and they're very good at making things clear. The government is doing some work, doing some repairs to the pavilion, which needed to be done about 20 years ago. Because really what you need to do with this pavilion is to push it down and start again. But for the upcoming cricket, this is what has to be done at this present point in time. Leaving that alone till when the work done and the competition finish. Because I don't want the Premier to say that he get vexed and stop spending money. So. Are you, Mr. Premier? If you want to take a picture for your next manifesto, come look for me. Let me hear you smile. While you give me something, give the Cricket Association about a good $100,000. I'll take the picture with you, and you could put it in the manifesto and say, "See here, Carlisle and me side." If you want me put on a blue shirt, bring one too. I am making fun, so may make fun too. By the way, gentlemen, cricket comes to the ETW Willett Park starting on the 3rd. Barbados against Guyana on the 3rd. Windwards against Jamaica on the 6th. Windwards against USA 2 on the 9th. Leewards against Trinidad and Tobago on the 12th. The 15th is Jamaica versus USA 2. On the 18th, Leewards against USA 1. On the 21st, Trinidad and Tobago versus Guyana. And on the 24th, 7th against 8th place. And so, under 19 cricket at the ETW Willett Park, it's first time in nearly 20 years that we have had regional cricket at the park. And so we want people to come on out and look at the cricket. We're running out of time, but we're not running out of time before we address this matter. Gentlemen, the Premier has been talking about this $20 million loan from National Bank to buy the lands at the airport. I believe that when the Premier went to see the Prime Minister, that he thought he was going to get a $20 million grant. I thought that he believed that they would have said to him, "Listen, man, we are going to give you this outer CBI, whatever it is." But Dr. Drew worked a little trick on him. And not just a little trick, I think it's a big, double-sided roundabout trick. Dr. Drew said, "Listen, we will set up a facility for you. Go see the people at National Bank." This is 7 months ago, Dr. Daly?
Yeah, it was made, the announcement was made in November last year.
November last year. And so he went to see the people at National Bank. Then is when he found out it was a loan. Not just a loan, but the loan had some serious conditions. Because up to this present moment, Mark has not been able to access the funds.
Can't get your hands on it. Impossible. The people at the airport who are supposed to be transacting to get their money have been left in abeyance. People who are making plans already made commitments to move, dependent on this money coming through, and those persons are now in abeyance. It is a tragic situation for those persons who have made alternate plans to move and blah blah and now have no money to move. What I understand is that the bank is very, 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 very concerned about the fact that NASPA, Navy's and Seaport Authority, is not the lead agency on this, and that they are really concerned about who is going to be accountable, whether it is the chairman of NASPA, who really should be the one signing the documentation, or Alexis Jeffers, who is the advisor to the Premier on this project.
And really and truly has no standing to be signing anything.
Has no standing. So the bank is holding out for making sure all T's are crossed, I's dotted before they release this money. It simply tells you that the NIA has no credibility left, no trust left with the bank. Remember, there's a $157 million loan at National Bank that has to be serviced. And the government has not been always on time with that payment. And therefore, the bank is naturally concerned not to be overexposed to the government. He, I understand, requested that Dr. Drew intervene with National Bank, which Dr. Drew, I understand, promised to have a conversation with the bank board regarding this loan. It has not been resolved yet. It tells you if a government, a fully fledged government like the NIA, is struggling to convince a local bank owned by the people of St. Kitts and Nevis to lend you $20 million, you're in deep shit.
And if you have already had from the federal government over $500 million and you can't find 20 million to do a little project, you're in trouble.
You're in trouble. You are really in. It goes beyond not having the money. It goes to the heart of your credibility.
It does.
It tells you that these institutions have lost faith in this government. When you look at Social Security, where the government is withholding people's contributions and not paying it, Social Security is watching. When you have a situation at Bank of Nevis, where the government is overextended, people are watching. When you look at all the facilities overseas that the government is struggling to pay, people are watching. And they're saying, boy, me ain't gonna put my 20 cents in there.
Let's take this call. Good evening, caller.
Good evening, Gala. Dr. Daly.
Yes, sir.
You've just spoken about with the length of time to pay up these agreed purchases of land.
Mm-hmm.
It's very, very concerning.
Mm.
I hope those people signed a contract, basically inflation-linked contract. Because if it takes you a year to pay, $100 today is not worth $100 in a year's time is not worth $100 today.
Mm.
So, and the cost of building a house today is going to be far less than the cost of building a house in a year's time. So, if you don't pay me for a year, 2 years, whatever, what you pay me is not going to be able to do what it was supposed to do because inflation has hit. Land prices don't go down, they only go up.
Mm.
Construction costs don't go down, it only goes up. So the longer you take to pay, the higher the cost of relocation will be. And therefore, if you've agreed to sell your property for $100 today, and you don't get the money until next year or the year after, you're not going to be able to build a house.
True. Very true.
So it's incredibly concerning, and the people who have made those agreements should be very scared.
I got you. And you know something about that field, so I respect your contribution, so thank you very much. Listen, I want to play Dr. Janice Daniels' take on this whole National Bank airport loan matter.
Premier right now is focused on trying to get the airport off the ground. And I listened to him speak. And you know what his statement was? That it is an extremely difficult process to get the 7.5 million US from National Bank that the federal government approved. But Mr. Manners, I sat here one evening and I said, the CCM government is going about this in the wrong way. There is an established statutory body in NASPA, which is the entity that is authorized to purchase land and to develop and expand the airport. So I am not surprised that even though the federal government would have sanctioned the loan from National Bank, it's 6 months and they can't get the money out. Because you go to National Bank, they're going to, who's the signatory? The signatory cannot be or not be the NIA when you have NASPA and you have a chairman of the board of NASPA. But because they don't understand these things, NASPA would have turned the airport project over to the NIA so that the Premier can turn it over to Alexis. And so now you try to get the money. Imagine your own local bank, already guaranteed by the federal government, and you can't get it. What does that tell you? He does not understand how these things work. And so he would forever be trying to find private investors because you don't have to go through the red tape, so to speak, of a financial institution. And so the last thing he said was that the Prime Minister was going to have a meeting with National Bank to figure out why all these clauses and why all of these challenges in getting the funds. So that in and of itself tells you that they still don't understand how the airport project should proceed. And they have a problem with this money.
Gentlemen,
they're getting some money from the private investor, Mr. Drahi. They're getting some money from Taiwan. They can't tell you how much. They're just saying some here and some there. But they're not operating on the...
Gentlemen, I grew up with an old lady who taught me a couple of tricks. I believe that the federal government playing a trick on Mark. Yes, he has been told that go to national, the funds are there. I believe in some backstretch of my head, remembering some things that Martin Powell taught me. I believe that somebody might be telling the big people at national are sending Mark down to you. Now give him the money yet. Give him a run round. Find an excuse. Tell him that you got to sign that, or you got to clarify this, or you got to, and stretch him out. Because there is nowhere in the world where you tell me that the majority shareholder in an institution says to you, Carlisle, go and see Dr. Daly. Dr. Daly is going to give you the $10 million that you want. And I gone down to Dr. Daly thinking, boy, I got it all made. I ain't know that Dr. Daniel don't call Dr. Daly and say, I send Carlisle to you. He expect 10 million. They give him no money yet. Make him wait. Because how is it that this money has basically been approved since November last year, but Mark can't get a copy yet?
By cabinet resolution?
we can't get a penny yet. Good evening, caller.
Carol, I agree with you 100%. I recall every time the government changed, they changed the board.
Mm-hmm.
So all who on the board were handpicked by the present government who is responsible.
Mm-hmm.
And more often than not, when the big dog bark, everybody lap the tail. The Prime Minister make a statement to the board and said, do this, it will be done.
Mm-hmm.
So if he said, give him, he get it. And if he says, no give him, you're not going to get it.
Not get no.
Let me tell you something. Sometimes people don't tell you no. They no come in a different form. And this is all what this happen. The Premier will not be able to tell anybody that the Prime Minister did not sign anything or didn't do what he was supposed to do. But the Prime Minister has to say in front and behind. So of course he tell the Premier yes. And of course he tell the Board of Directors something else. Because at the end of the day, the Prime Minister have to depend on what the board does. He could give direction. And more often than not, they would study him. And something is fishy. And I call it very fishy. You cannot say, I didn't do what you asked me to do. I did what I have to do, and the rest is up to them people over there. It's not me.
Mm-hmm.
That is all what happened. Good night and goodbye.
Thank you very much. There are two representatives on the board from Nevis.
Yeah.
But even if Lana and Ronald going in there and make noise and say, yeah, give Nevis some money, Mark said that are you? Not a thing change.
I believe, I believe, sincerely believe, that when Dr. Drew agreed to act as a signer, a signatory for this loan, I believe certain promises were made by the Premier that he had the other funding set up, that he would have had access to the private funding. I would not, if I was Dr. Drew, I wouldn't let go the money until I see your other funding. Because why would I put the bank out there and the project gets stuck? Because you cannot source the other money. Drahi hasn't come through. Bill Gates hasn't come through. The Taiwanese haven't come through.
He said Bill Gates was never in the picture.
He's lying. I know he's lying. But none of your other financing avenues have materialized. So why would I commit the bank's resources to $20 million is a lot of money by any measure. Why would I commit that money to you? And you have not proven to me that this project can go forward because you have all the requisite financing lined up. Mine is just a start. You still got 110 million more to go. Why would I give you that money? So I agree with the caller, and I agree with you, Carlisle. Dr. Drew has put the kibosh, the brakes on this, because he has not seen any evidence that the Premier can fulfill that other funding gap he has of $110 million plus.
Thank you very much. Dr. Daniel, your statement, and you will turn that into your closing statement as well, because the time has come.
That was my concern, what Dr. Daly has mentioned. I mean, how much is the total cost? How much borrowing? How much debt has he acquired so far? Before I give you a drop another 20 million on you. If you can't pay that much yet, you can't give me a commitment. How much more? I mean, why would I give you 20 million? And I think that is the little fork in the road there that Dr. Drew has put there for Mark, and it slowed the process down. It is my hope that this political tribalism that in the country, that we pick the best people and we talk to the best people to get the country moving. My fear is that I don't know how many people NIA, the CCM has sent away to study. I don't know how many people they have sent away, but I know when NRP was in, they had a program basically send at least one college graduate in the household. And if you don't send anybody to study and you don't have the skill set, you have a problem because you don't have that group of people who go in. Everything is back to one man, the Premier of Nevis. And he alone, I mean, he is the end all and be all of everything. And that's the problem. Where is the skill set? Where are the people who advise you? Where are the people who surround you? I mean, what are we doing in terms of educating our people so that we have the relevant people? Somebody mentioned earlier about the project there for the project name over there. I'm forgetting about it. The one over in I forget the name of it. Anyway, that project basically where you don't have the skill set of the people who are there to really basically, in case something breaks down, who are the people who are going to fix these things? And that's the problem. If you're not educating people, and then we have a big problem. I would challenge the government to at least send 4 or 5 people away every month, acquire the money, send 4 or 5 people away in different parts of the world to study, so that they can come back with the skill set necessary to make the change and to know how to negotiate and know what it takes to negotiate when you meet foreign people. Because there's nobody in this government that I can see that have the gravitas to go anywhere to talk to anybody about financing. Outside of Baby Mark, the others, I mean, who's going to listen to them? They don't have the gravitas to talk about to acquire huge amounts of money for any major project. That's why they don't get any. And those are my closing, and those are all I want to say tonight.
Thank you very much, Theodore. Dr. Daly?
I come back to that quote by this Roman. Give them food and circuses, and they will never revolt. And it is symptomatic of what we have been enduring as a people here on Nevis. Because in the absence of food and circus, this government would have collapsed a long time ago on its own weight, on its own corruption. People are struggling because of this government. Resources that should be spent securing our future are spent on VIP lounges, are wasted on incomplete projects, are wasted on trips abroad by the Premier. It's just wasted. So when we speak about give them food and circuses, what I'm concerned about, Carlisle, is the ease at which our people succumb to this age-old trick lining up for free food and free concerts and free parties and free tickets and this and that. You know, we have a saying, if you free, take two. And this government here has been exploiting that circumstance of the human nature. If you free, take two. Without considering that themselves are being bought for a very low price. Compromised for a very low price. Free food and circus. The government is a circus. Eric Evelyn is a clown. The Premier is a clown. Spencer Brand is a clown. The Minister of Health, Nisbet, is a clown. Or a clowness, if they have masculine or gender. It is just simply incomprehensible that more persons in Nevis or of Nevis ancestry or residents are allowing themselves to be compromised with free food and circus. It's amazing to me because people are smart enough, I believe, to recognize that when they're being bought or when they're being bribed. We know when our children are trying tricks with us. They tell you how much they love you, how much they care about you. You know how your girlfriend just talk to you, your boyfriend talk to you. Oh, they love you, love you, love. They want something. They're trying to boost you up. But these guys here are going an extra mile because they're using our own money from the treasury to boost us up, not their own money. There's nothing in life that is free. Everything has a cost. And we all know this instinctively because we've been taught this for millennia. Our parents and grandparents, our neighbors told us there's no free lunch. And yet we line up every time and allow ourselves to be bought for a drink and a plate of food. A free concert, a free ticket. And this is how this government here is operating and has operated in the past. And I consider, and I will say, they will continue to do it until we stop them. Good night.
Thank you very much. It's opening night of the St. Kitts Music Festival. And I want to wish safe passage to all those persons who are traveling between Nevis and St. Kitts to enjoy themselves. Dr. Daly's not so favorite minister, he was on the program tonight. Thing is that they were first up, started promptly at 7, and by 7:05 they were on the stage. Minister Eric with the greater. Here is the thing. At 7:05, only 2 people in the stadium. But at least he can say he performed on the music festival stage.
He actually went on the stage.
Well, he's in the band, so I haven't seen any pictures to say he was not there. So until I see pictures to say he was not there, I say he was there. So because he's a bee, a honey bee. And I hope that, Eric, I hope you sting a couple people tonight. Or that you got stung with the sweetness of the honeybees. We're going to be with you next week. Remember that we are having cricket in Nevis starting on the 3rd and every 3 days after that. On Saturday, the Leeward Islands under-19 males will play a practice match at the ETW Willett Park because we want to be able to test out at least one of the pitches on the square where the matches will be played. And so if you want to see some cricket, come to the park on Saturday. Until then, I want to thank everybody for being a part of the show. Remember, Mark Brantley said that there never ever was a public accounts committee at any time at all in the history of St. Kitts and Nevis. The evidence in print says that he was appointed chairman of a public accounts committee and that he served on the committee alongside Nigel Carty, Patrice Nisbet, Dr. Timothy Harris, Sean Richards. So you either believe him or you believe the evidence that we brought to you. Thank you very much. Look for you next week, and I hope that you have a good night tonight.
Tell me what you want, please tell me